The vast and varied galaxy was ruled by a careful distribution of power, upheld by treaties, alliances, and mutual deterrence. For centuries, dominant coalitions and empires had created a balance that kept wars at bay. Advanced civilizations, on a grand scale, depended on their technological superiority and massive fleets to project influence. Meanwhile, smaller species sought protection through strategic partnerships. It wasn't a perfect system, but it ensured that no single power could rule unchallenged. The arrival of humanity on the interstellar stage was, at first, seen as unremarkable. A species that had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel, human travelers were categorized as minors curious, but insignificant. Early human-alien interactions were mostly peaceful, marked by trade agreements and cultural exchange. Humanity's adaptability and resourcefulness were noted, but not feared. They were industrious but ultimately trivial beneath that unassuming exterior. However, humanity was growing rapidly. They expanded into unclaimed territories, optimized supply chains, and built a reputation for resilience against environmental and logistical challenges. Their territories steadily expanded, and while their innovations weren't flashy, they progressed at an unprecedented pace. Rumors began to circulate, whispers of fortified colonies and strange new ships patrolling the edges of human space. Observers grew uneasy. Humanity was silent strategically so about its military capabilities. Unlike the great powers who displayed fleets and shows of strength, humanity kept its secrets close. Diplomatic exchanges yielded few answers. Human representatives emphasized cooperation and trade, rarely discussing defense. But then, everything changed. A rogue alien raiding group targeted a remote human colony. They saw an easy target, a vulnerable settlement defended by a species with little combat history. Their intelligence was outdated. Their assumptions were fatal. The raiders launched a standard operation. A full fleet moved in, weapons ready. Confident, arrogant, they had no idea what awaited them. Humanity had anticipated such an event. They had fortified their borders, trained their crews, developed technologies and secret technologies designed to counter the exact tactics that alien fleets used. As the raiders approached, they detected only a single human warship. It was small, sleek, quiet, dismissed as a minor threat. They sent warnings, demanded surrender, but the human vessel didn't move. It didn't answer. Then it came online. With precision. With intent, targeting arrays locked in. Shields powered up. And in a flash, the warship struck. It wasn't just fast, it was surgical. Vital systems on the alien command ships were obliterated. Their defenses crumbled. In seconds, several ships were disabled. Crews panicked. Chaos erupted. The raiders were outmatched, outmaneuvered, outclassed. Electronic warfare systems jammed communications and disrupted targeting. Every countermeasure the raiders tried was anticipated, neutralized. This wasn't a defense. It was a demonstration. One warship, armed with unimaginable precision, tore through their formation with cold efficiency. The psychological impact was as devastating as the physical losses. The attackers fled. What began as a confident assault had become a desperate retreat. The human warship didn't let up. It picked off stragglers, maintained formation, proved its dominance with every shot. By the time the survivors escaped, their fleet was shattered and their perception of humanity was forever changed. Humanity was no longer an overlooked species. They were a force. A threat. A question with no answer. News of the defeat spread fast, across empires, across species. Galactic powers began to reevaluate everything they thought they knew. Analysts scrambled to understand what had happened. How could one ship do this? Who were these humans? Really? Were there more ships like it? Or was this only the beginning? Smaller civilizations long oppressed by the dominant empire saw something else. Hope, perhaps. Humanity represented a new path, a way to challenge the old order. But others, especially the Galactic Council, saw something far more dangerous. Disruption. An unpredictable force that needed to be monitored or controlled. Recon probes were launched. Espionage intensified, but still, answers were few. Human space was fortified. Industrial growth exploded, yet their full military capacity remained hidden. Was the ship that attacked the raiders their peak technology? Or just a glimpse of what was coming? No one knew. The galaxy shifted. Old alliances fractured. Some species argued for containment, others for cooperation. But in every corner of the stars, one truth echoed louder than ever before. Humanity had arrived, and they were no longer asking for a seat at the table. They were building their own. Perceived danger, but others argued for diplomacy to prevent needless conflict. The divide revealed more than just opinion. It exposed the underlying tensions within the galactic community itself. Humanity's actions, though unintentional, pulled back the veil on long-standing fractures. At the heart of this reaction was a growing realization. Humanity operated differently. Most civilizations displayed power through grand military shows. Humanity, by contrast, was subtle. Purposeful. They avoided unnecessary conflict, focusing instead on developing their capabilities quietly and efficiently. Unorthodox? Yes, but it worked, and the older powers of the galaxy struggled to adapt. Questions emerged. Were humans simply trying to defend their space? Or did they have aspirations beyond their borders? The lack of a clear answer fueled speculation. Some feared a new era of rivalry and chaos. Others saw hope. A chance for reform, a possibility that humanity could reshape the political climate for the better. Earth's response only confirmed both their intentions and the challenges ahead. They had proven their ability to defend themselves, but in doing so, they had drawn the gaze of powers far more dangerous than raiders. It was no longer a question of whether humanity belonged in the galaxy, but how they would navigate the complex web of alliances, expectations, and conflicts. The galaxy's response to that single warship proved one thing: progress is unpredictable. What began as a minor skirmish had become a reckoning. Complacent civilizations were forced to confront a new truth. Power was no longer limited to the ancient empires. Humanity's emergence had upset the status quo, and the future had never looked more uncertain. The revelation of their military capabilities sent ripples through every star system. The fragile balance of power was shaken. In the aftermath, the galaxy entered a period of speculation and recalibration. Empires that had once ruled with ease now watched humanity closely. They observed, they studied, and they worried. But humanity chose a different path. Rather than boast or intimidate, they stayed silent. No parades. No declarations. Just quiet strength. This restraint spoke volumes. It told the galaxy humanity wasn't seeking war, but they weren't afraid of it either. Their silence created unease, a quiet force that demanded caution and respect. Behind closed doors, human leaders focused on strengthening borders, advancing technology, and forging alliances. They knew the path ahead would not be easy. Their rise had shattered the natural order. They had become both a beacon and a target. Every move now mattered. Diplomacy had to be precise. Each alliance calculated, because missteps would be seen not just as errors but as threats. Smaller species, long silenced by galactic hierarchies, began to take notice. Where once they had been ignored, they now saw a potential partner in humanity, someone who understood struggle, someone who challenged the old ways. These early partnerships were quiet but meaningful, and together they laid the foundation for a coalition that could someday rival the ruling powers. Meanwhile, the old empires debated. Some saw humanity as a threat to centuries of peace and dominance. Others recognized the need for change. Humanity was a mirror reflecting both the strengths and flaws of the galactic order. Surveillance increased. Probes. Scouts. Diplomatic feelers. Still, the full scope of Earth's power remained unclear. Their warship had been a warning, but was it the peak, or just a glimpse? Number one knew, and that uncertainty was terrifying. Some council factions pushed for sanctions, others for military containment, but reformist voices pushed back, seeing humanity as a potential ally for long overdue change, because unlike the empires of old, humanity didn't follow tradition. They followed results. They valued clarity over ceremony, efficiency over politics. And that, to many, was a breath of fresh air. Humanity's reputation as pragmatic, reliable and unshackled from ancient dogma, made them both respected and feared. And while the council plotted, humanity planned. They offered proposals to improve interstellar trade, open communication, and foster technological exchange. Some rejected it, but others leaned in. The lone warship had become a symbol, a message. Strength. Flexibility. Self-control. It wasn't just about defense. It was about rewriting what power looked like. Humanity stood not just as a survivor, but as a challenger, a reformer, a warning. To some, they were a menace. To others, a miracle. But in every case, they were undeniable. Humanity had changed the galaxy. And their story was just beginning. They now stood at the crossroads. Would they shape a more just galactic order, or fall to the very corruption they rose against? Only time would tell, but one truth had been written into the stars: humanity would not be ignored.